Da na 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 na. Simply. Dum 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 dum. Ay ay ay.
Hi, this is Keep It Simple and I'm Ann from Ann's Keep It Simple. Make sure you check us out online at annskeepitsimple.com. Today we are doing one of the easiest recipes. It's going to be easy and quick. The only time that is involved in this entire recipe is the baking process. And it depends on how much you're baking or cooking as to how long you're going to do it, because you're really essentially just warming it through and melting cheese and everything else. Today we're doing the Enchilada Cassarole. And we're gonna, it's gonna cost about $15, but that feeds 4 to 6 people depending on how big your family is and if there's how many grown-ups there are in it. So it does stretch the dollar also. You need a 12 or 16 ounce bag of shredded cheese, and I usually use the Monterey Jack cheddar shredded cheese. 10 ounce can of chicken. Now that's in red because that's one of our staples, and check out the staple section on the website also for a list of those that you just keep on hand for anything. We also have a 10.5 or 10 ounce can of cream of chicken. That's also a staple. Then we're going to need a can of the green enchilada sauce, and that they come in those smaller sizes, so if you're making this a smaller recipe, that's fine. You can buy one of those cans too. But I am baking the big recipe today, so I'm using the 28 ounce can of that, and a 22 ounce package of the white corn tortillas. So they just seem to cook up a lot better. You don't want to use flour tortillas because they all just become soggy in the baking process and everything else. So let's get started. Like I said, this is going to be one of the fastest, easiest recipe, and you just pop it in the oven, warm it through, and you'll be eating within probably 30 minutes. So I did preheat the oven to 400, and that's just, it's going to be hot enough to warm everything through and melt the cheese and everything, and do it quickly also. And so today I'm going to mix everything in a bowl, and it's easier to pour in there because you do have to layer the tortilla shells and the mixture all together anyway. So I just mix it up in a bowl, but you can do everything right in the same bake pan. This is a 9x9 casserole dish. It's not going to be full, but it is going to be plenty for a big family or a lot of people. If you don't have a casserole dish, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Go to the dollar store, get the foil pans. They work just as well. Just have to make sure that you're holding them because it's soupy and it's going to be hot when you take it out of the oven. This is a number 2 level cooking because we have to purchase a couple things at the store and you're going to have to cook it. So just giving it a level 2, but it's easy, simple, and fast. Alright, first of all, I just opened my can of chicken, and this is the regular size can of chicken, and it's got water in it. You can drain off some of the water. As a matter of fact, I am going to take a little bit of this water off, but you can just leave it in the casserole if you want. That's fine too. But I drained off just most of it, just real quick drained. I put that in there. And then one of the options on this recipe is adding green chilies or olives, or if you don't have chicken, you can use tuna. You can change this recipe up any way you want. And I had a small can of little green chilies, so I am just going to add that, about half of that can, because I like it spicy. My family likes it spicy. My kids like Mexican food, and it's really good for you anyways. It's good for your heart. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put in the can of cream of chicken soup, and all that is it helps as a base. Makes it all creamy when it comes together. So you don't have to dilute it or anything, just take it right out of the can, pour it in there with this. And I think I just lost some of my sunshine, so we're going to turn some light on there. And then the big can of the enchilada sauce. I am using green enchilada sauce because it goes really good with chicken or tuna if that's what you're using. And I'm pouring the whole 28 ounce can in there, just like that. And then I just kind of stir everything together. That's all I do. Just mix it thoroughly together, break up the chicken chunks a little bit so it's evenly dispersed in there. At this point, you don't really want to use any salt or anything prior to cooking because the chili sauce is naturally, first of all, it's canned, so it's good. It does have some sodium in it already, and the chicken as well. But the spiciness of the enchilada sauce gives you the same pleasure in your mouth as salt does. So you really want to try it after it's all cooked together, and the cheese of course has some salt in it too, so try it first before you salt it more. If it needs it at the table, that's fine, you can salt it at that point. And then I'm going to go ahead and just take my corn tortillas, and I just usually quarter these. I have the little round ones, not the smallest ones that are available. You could use those if you just want to use them whole, but I use the regular, you know, they come 24 to a pack. It's the regular taco size tortillas, so. And that's what I'm using for this recipe. And you just quarter them up real simply, carefully. And that's how you're gonna layer it. And by layering, I mean it's just like, kind of like a lasagna, only it's little tortillas and some, you know, soupy ingredients that goes in there. And I'm gonna pour a little bit in the bottom right there. Break up that chicken, get it evenly distributed as you do it. And then I'm just gonna make a layer of the tortillas. And you don't have to be fancy about this, nothing hard to it. Just layer them in there, like that. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of cheese in there. I want to get them all the way out to the edges. And I like to layer my cheese in there with each layer just a little bit. Kind of gets everything through and through, all the way through. And so, and it helps it, when it sets up a little bit after you take it out of the oven, it helps hold everything together as well. So just like that, a little more of the juice, the sauce, pour it in there, break up the chicken. And you just continue doing this until you've used up all the sauce. If you are using a smaller pan, I do want to remind you guys, put a baking sheet or some foil or something under it, because if you fill the pan too full, I mean if it gets pretty full up to the top, when you're making all the layers and everything else, it might bubble over just a little bit, but you don't want to mess, you know, that in your oven, so it's easier just to put a piece of foil down first. And save you on cleanup. Won't smell like you're burning something in the oven when the cheese is melting and burning on the rack. So, and we just keep doing this. This is going to be my last layer. Just a few ingredients is all you need to make this whole casserole. Real fast, real convenient. While the kids are doing their homework, you can be getting this ready for the oven and relax while it's baking, because that's all there is to it right there. That's it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the tortillas on top again, and I want to make it a complete layer all the way around the edges, so I have to get a couple more tortillas, quarter those up. And just the layers all the way around so it's completely covered with the tortillas, and that's kind of like the top crust right there. And I've still got some space over here. I'll use that one. Okay, and we're done with that. And then you need to make sure that you completely cover that layer with the shredded cheese, because that's going to keep them from getting too hard or crusty on the top. It's going to keep the moisture in and help cook them and steam them. Once it's covered all the way across, just like that. Looks good already, smells wonderful. And you want to cover it. So if you're using the foil pan, you want to make sure that you put foil on top of it to cook it in there also. You can take the lid off right about time to eat, maybe a couple minutes in the oven just to brown up the cheese on top if you'd like. Otherwise, we're going to stick this in the oven, and we'll be back as soon as it's cooked up. About 30 minutes. It's going to cook this big of a portion, just till you see everything bubbling through. Alright, we're back now, and the casserole has cooked off, like I said, about 30 minutes, and I took the lid off for like the last 5 minutes, or left it in for an extra 5 minutes with the lid off. Kind of browns up the cheese and everything on top, and I took it out of the oven and let it sit for about 10 minutes, and that sets everything up and the cheese, you know, isn't so watery or anything like that. It sets everything up as it's cooling a little bit, and it's scorching hot when it comes out of the oven. The enchilada sauce stays hot for hours, literally, in a pot like this. So, like I said, we went ahead and let it set up for a little bit since I took it out of the oven. This time, I would just serve it up with anything that you would want to go with it. If you have some, you know, made some guacamole, that's fine. You can put that on the side. Today, I like to use little tomatoes that I have just kind of to go with it on the side. If you get the heat, you know, sometimes chilies can be hot and sometimes they're not as hot. So you just never know. So I use tomatoes and a little bit of creme fraiche on the side of mine just to be there if you need to take the heat off a little bit. And guacamole works just as well too. And you go ahead and just serve that up. That's how you do it. You dish it out per helping, per person. And this will easily make 6 servings, just like this. And I usually sprinkle a little bit of cilantro on top too. So, and there you have it. Enchilada casserole, easy peasy, totally. Fast. All you do is bake it off. Enjoy.
Ay, 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 ay. Enchiladas.